Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about some interesting things because I think, as all of you know, the past few patch notes have been pretty bad, pretty lackluster, ever since Season 4 began. And out of curiosity, I just went and looked at Drunksy's Twitter, and then I went and looked at David Sirland or Tigger's Twitter, and there's a strange connection here because it seems as if some of the main people that were doing a lot of the important community communication have just dropped off the face of the planet. Does their communication stopping directly correlate with the updates getting worse? I'll be discussing that alongside whether or not Battlefield 6 has completely fumbled its great potential. As always, I do appreciate you guys watching the channel so much. I always read all your comments, and some of them are very, very interesting, guys. A guy asked me the other day if I gave birth to my plushies in the background of my stream. So, yeah, hit the like button, hit the sub button, and of course, swing by the streams. I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders and this very YouTube channel. Also, check out the second channel where I'm also posting regular content. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Drunksy and David Sirland. These are seen as kind of the two main developer figureheads that actively communicate, or at least they used to players and people on social media platforms like Reddit and Twitter and even Discord. But I noticed that I haven't seen a single comment from either of these individuals for a very, very long time, and that made me curious to go see when their last reply was. Going on to David Sirland's profile, you can see his last official tweet was actually in May 14th, and his last reply was also May 14th. Jumping over here and taking a look at Drunksy, you can see that his last tweet was June 26th, and so was his last reply. So the two main developers that are doing the heavy lifting when it comes to the communication to the player base, answering some questions, providing some details, they have both been MIA from a communication standpoint for multiple months. Is it a coincidence that in this time frame, the updates have gotten consistently worse? I don't know. Obviously, we don't have any insight into what is exactly happening here. They could very simply be making the personal choice to not go on Twitter. I mean, a lot of people don't like Twitter. And I would imagine from a developer perspective, no matter how amazingly cordial and responsive you are, you're still going to get insane shit just because you're developing a game. There's also the potential that EA or somebody above them told them to stop tweeting as much, or maybe advise them not to communicate. Ultimately, we have no idea what's going on here. I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up considering the lackluster updates as of late. I think the community really does appreciate the direct developer communication, and to see this go away after having such a good run of it is very concerning. Now, also in light of the very lackluster recent updates, I just have to pose this question to you guys. Will Battlefield 6 ever reach its full potential, or even close to it? And allow me to answer this from my own personal perspective. The answer is hell no. I think they fumbled the potential of this game way earlier than people realize, and I think in due time, people will start to come around to this fact. At least in my opinion, it is a fact. If you understand all the issues in this game at a high level, you would understand also that a lot of the fixes would require an astronomical amount of time in rearranging, and it just isn't going to happen in the time frame that Battlefield 6 has left realistically. Does this mean that Battlefield 6 is not going to continue to improve? Does this mean that we're never going to get a good update again? Absolutely not. I'm sure updates moving forward are going to do good stuff for the game. As we saw in the recent trailer, they are very clearly going to be updating weapon sights at a particular time in the future. I'm a little bit sad that they haven't done it already, because I think Battlefield 6's weapon sights have been lackluster for a little bit. But again, this is another example of these things are going to take a long, long time, and the deep issues of the game are almost certainly never going to be 100% remedied. Just take one element of vehicle gameplay, for instance, jet gameplay. Within jet gameplay, there are a ton of different problems that bleed into other areas of the game. You have the fact that lock-on ranges are crazy long. Okay, that bleeds into gadget rebalancing, but then also vehicle rebalancing when it comes to anti-air guns. And there are many, many more examples of this that I can bring up. The main point I just want to hammer home here is this game is like a spider web. If you change one thing, it's very, very likely that that one thing you just changed is connected to multiple other aspects of the game, and this all translates into these problems taking a fuckload of thinking and manpower and time and dedication in order to fix. Another key example of this is actually something they did recently, and it is the addition of limb multipliers. Now, you might be confused because you're probably thinking to yourself, wait, Anders, like, didn't you advocate for the addition of limb multipliers? Yes, I absolutely did, but I advocated for limb multipliers for a very specific reason. I knew that DICE would not be willing to take the proper course of action by reworking the entire gunplay system. So what did they do instead? They added harsh limb multipliers to the game in an attempt to avoid taking the correct course of action and the long way around. Don't get me wrong, I still think the correct course of action includes limb multipliers, but maybe not so many limb multipliers. If they did what they really needed to do, and they spent all of this time reworking the things they needed to rework, they could have gotten rid of the lower stomach multiplier. They could have made limb multipliers less of an impactful gameplay element, and let the other changes they made to the gunplay do the rest of the talking. And keep in mind, this whole conversation about whether or not this game has any chance of reaching its potential is way more complicated than just talking about the gunplay and what should be done with that. This is only a single part of the conversation. We haven't even talked about all the bugs they would need to fix in the game, the vehicle problems, the class balance issues that will, unfortunately, most likely persist throughout this entire game's lifespan, with support being just insanely powerful, having access to ammo and health at the same time. Other class balance stuff, such as the gadgets, the assault pen still is basically just a placebo pen that blurs the edges of your fucking screen. You may as well not even use it. 3D spotting is completely and utterly busted in this game. It destroys the entire attachment meta. You have to use suppressors. You really can't use, flash hiders or muzzle brakes because of it. But I think you guys get the picture by now. The amount of effort and work that would need to go into Battlefield 6 is pretty astronomical in order to really have the game reach the potential that I think we all saw early on. But of course, hindsight is 20/20, right? When we played the beta, it was easy to say this game at a surface level had a ton of potential because, of course, playing a beta, an early access period, it doesn't give you enough time to really understand everything about the game at a deep level. And EA and DICE were very deliberate with including Cairo Bazaar as one of the maps that we would play for the beta because that was the best of what they had. So they showed us the best of what they had, and of course the beta period is not going to be long enough for you to identify everything wrong with the game. And all of this added up to equal the majority of people thinking this game was more polished than it really was. So will Battlefield 6 ever really reach its potential? Probably not. I think hell would freeze over before that would happen, but it doesn't mean that they can't still drastically improve the game over a long period of time. Unfortunately, it's just going to take a lot of time to work out these issues. And when it's all said and done, and when the last Battlefield 6 update goes live, unfortunately, the hype period for Battlefield 7 is probably going to be starting up, and the game's content support is going to be cut, and every single person will move to making the next game that will restart the cycle. Interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this, of course. If you enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button, hit the sub button, swing by the streams, check out the second channel, enjoy the Discord. Always cool to see new people come by to the Discord as well. And honestly, with the addition of custom servers, first I want to see how useful they are, and in the event they are actually useful, I've been wanting to hold a viewer 1v1 tournament for a long time, and I just cast it, and you guys just 1v1 until we have a winner, and maybe I can get one of my sponsors to throw up some prizes. That's just a little idea I had. Let me know also in the comment section if that sounds cool to you, and I'll see if I can make it happen, or if it's even possible with the custom servers. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.